welcome back to my channel. I am the Spell Singer, and this is my ongoing review of the Fighting Fantasy series of gamebooks. And in this review, I'm going to give you a quick look at this title with its book number. I'll read the blurb, chat about the plot and its location, talk a bit about the game mechanics and the adventure sheet. I'll run the artwork through this video as normal, talk about my own likes and dislikes, some fun facts, any errors worth mentioning, and finish on a summary and score out of 10. But before I do that, I just want to say a little thank you to 5 random recent subscribers to this channel. So a little thanks for appreciation to Julie Burrell, Julie Burrell, Mark Bull, Butters times 2, David Jackson and Athos Deterius. Sorry if I got that wrong, but welcome. It's great to have you guys on board. So yeah, this book, this is book 39. This is Fangs of Fury. It came out in 1989. It was written by Luke Sharp. So this is Luke Sharp's 4th and final book for this Puffin range. And weirdly, this front cover here and the internal artwork was all done by the same fella, David Gallagher. So he did the internal illustrations and this front cover as well. So there you go. Right, let me read the blurb to you. So this one, the fire of the Sentinels must be rekindled. 6 massive stone dragons guard the tiny kingdom of Zamarra, but the fire they breathe has been extinguished, and now Zamarra is under siege by Ostragoth the Grim and his swarming hordes. His aim is to destroy the 12 wizards of the Mage-Order and spread the evil of the enchanter Jaxartes throughout Khul. The Sentinel's fire must be restored to its former power, and you have volunteered for this task. Your terrifying mission will take you to the white-hot core of the volcano known as the Fangs of Fury, and there is no time to lose. Okay, so the plot and locations for this book. So this one, Fangs of Fury, like I say, is Luke Sharp's final fighting fantasy book. The third in a trilogy almost, you could say. And it's set in that kind of same southwestern area of Khul, that continent within Titan. So here you begin in the citadel of Zamarra, having volunteered to save the region from that evil Ostragoth, the Grim, and of course his wizard sidekick Jaxartes. Now Zamarra is under siege, but usually the citadel is protected by these 6 stone sentinels that kind of sit around the outside of this castle. And they guard it with its fiery breath. So each one kind of breathes fire on anyone who's attacking them. Now, the flame itself originates from the Fangs of Fury, which is that volcano it's mentioned in the blurb. But it has been extinguished, leaving the citadel defenseless. Your mission is to break through this siege that's going on outside the walls of Zamarra, find the mountains where the Fangs of Fury are, and relight the flame using a special torch that Ostragoth, the wizard, has given you. So he gives you that before you go, and you're fitted with also this bracelet that glows every time one of the citadel walls is breached. Once the last wall is breached and fallen, the bracelet kills you. So it kind of acts as like a cool little game mechanic, if you like. But in terms of location, so in this one, as you can see from the map here, we're in Titan, and you've got Khul, you've got the old world as well, and Alancia. Now, if we zoom in into Khul, specifically in the southwest of Khul, you can see here the city of Zamarra. But if you want a really good close-up, we've got a Steve Luxton's map here, which gives you a good look at the city of Zamarra and the coastal city that it is, and of course everything inland. So that's where we are in Fangs of Fury. Right, the game mechanics and the adventure sheet for this book. So in another variation, like I mentioned, is that time score of previous books. You're fitted with this bracelet that glows, whenever one of those 14 walls has been breached. And of course, if all 14 come down, you die. So there's your incentive to not, not dally around too much and just get on with things. And the walls are indicated on the character sheet, on the adventure sheet, by a depiction of a kind of piece of a stone wall with a flag. So you just grey it out every time you get told that one of these walls has been breached. Now, Fangs of Fury is one of the easier Luke Sharp books to complete. You'll find it's quite a nice addition to the gameplay are these black and white cubes that are scattered throughout the whole adventure. So the black cubes, they're all quite plentiful, but they're scattered throughout the journey, and they protect you from fire damage, which is probably something you'll want to be interested in getting, given that you're going to be going to a volcano, whereas the white cubes, they provide enlightenment, and they're literally everywhere scattered throughout this adventure. However, you will need to spot them, in the artwork. So if you can see from this video here, yes, this is the white cube hunt, whereby you have to find clues hidden in the internal artwork. So it's a very cool feature. So thanks to David Gallagher, you kind of have to scour through this art, looking for a string of white cubes. And when you do, you've got to make a note of them. Yeah, so this is the white cube hunt. Very, very cool feature. And you've got to find these white cubes, and you've got to scrutinize every illustration for a set of or a string of cubes that are kind of strung together. Sometimes there's 3, sometimes there's 6. And if you can see some, you roll a die, so a single die, you get as many cubes as your die number. So yeah, it's a really nice feature. But also, in terms of game mechanics, it may be possible to get to all 14 walls. Actually get to the end before all 14 walls are destroyed. So the bracelet, I don't think, can actually kill you. I mean, it certainly never killed me in any of my playthroughs, so I don't know whether there's anyone who can confirm that, but yeah, I think you can pretty much get through this game without Zamarra falling. But yeah, even if you take like a long-winded route, maybe not the most direct route, you can still get through this adventure quite nicely. There's loads of usual Luke Sharp, instant deaths, failing by luck tests, and skill tests. Most of the fights are relatively easy, relatively low skill encounters. There are many ways to regain stamina, so quite often you'll get a chance to get 4 to 6 points of stamina back, which is good. And then you have also your standard 10 provisions, but also one of those 3 classic potions as well, the skill, strength and fortune. So lots of chances to sort of regain your health throughout this one. There's no true path. So typical, again, Luke Sharp, very common in his books, is no true path. So rather sort of plenty of routes to the end. So yeah, a good sort of trait that Luke Sharp has kept throughout a lot of his books. And he still has, like I say, those instant deaths, but we can forgive him for that. So a variety of game mechanics really throughout this adventure. The Wazari use a written pentagram kind of language, almost like semaphore. So if you can decode it, it helps you find and avoid traps later stages in this book. And it involves flicking back and forth between the pictures that explain the characters and wherever you are whilst you're trying to sort of match the pictograms to their solutions. So for example, on page 74, I'll put the picture up here as well, so you can see it. You hear some very strange noises as you trudge along. You come to a sudden drop in a small river, valley. In front of you, there's a tall tree and it has an inscription carved on it. And look at it carefully. And then you've got, obviously, the kind of weird picture here that you've got to kind of decode. I'll give you another one. So on 76, you are in a cave with an inscription carved into a wooden plaque. There are 4 exits of the cave. Which one do you choose? Of course, based on whether or not you can decode it, you can choose, or otherwise you've just got to guess. One last one on 92. You enter the volcano. You find yourself in a torchlit chamber. There are 2 tunnels that lead off from here. They're both marked with an inscription. The one on the left is marked with this one. The one on the right is marked with this one. Which direction do you want to choose? So yes, it's mostly sort of whether, instead of saying east or west, you get a little game mechanic here, which can add a bit of variety. And the way you learn this technique is on 247. So that's this image here. The monk smiles and leads you into another room. It has no windows and has been carved out of the solid rock. 2 torches light up the room. He stands in front of the series of symbols that represent warriors holding daggers and shields in various positions of the compass. Look carefully and learn the alphabet of Talin, a warrior language that has long ago fallen into disuse among the others of the country. It is still taught to the young in this village, especially those destined to be Wazari. It may be of great help when you need it most. He points to the symbols from the top to left, right. There are the letters A to H in the vulgar tongue. The symbols from the middle left to right represent letters I to P. And the third row, left to right, are those Q to X. And the last 2 symbols are Y and Z. So there is your sort of the place where you can kind of learn this language and try and make use of it, as you progress through the narrative. And you also have, as well as that, this cube puzzle throughout the adventure. I'll give you one example of that on 102. I'll put the graphic up here as well. They take you to their house. The old man asks the girl to prepare for her trip, and when she skips away, he introduces himself as Ono Maki, a monk of the Wazari. The girl, he explains, is his ward. She is due to travel to the great monastery for initiation, but these times are dangerous. The old religion is deemed heretical by these that conquer. I hope that you are the one that legend speaks of, but nevertheless I must put you to the test. You agree to be tested. He takes you into a room full of circles painted on the floor and hands you a cube with dice markings. You stand on circle A, which you can see there. Onomaki explains that you must throw the cube to find your true path and to indicate the awareness of your being. Throw a die. If you roll a 1 to 3, you move up by 1 circle. If you roll a 4 to 5, you move right by 1 circle. And if you roll a 6, you do not move and deduct 1 point from your stamina. So it's classic Luke Sharp, isn't it? Yeah, so that's the cube puzzles that are littered throughout this game book. There's also a white cube example of what they all lead to on reference 39. Now, maybe I will just give you an idea of that one. So this image here, this illustration, is kind of where it all leads to. So the cavern is huge. A bridge across a chasm leads to a vertical row of 7 entrances on the right, and suddenly out of the smoky mist in front of you there appear 2 monks, making the sign of the cube, but gradually they become more solid. You hear 2 sing-song voices chanting in harmony. Welcome, stranger, to the Fangs of Fury, the centre of the Wazari and the religion whose name cannot be uttered, and at whose core lives the flame. If you have been shown the way and have accumulated white cubes in your mind's eye, then place the number you have in the indicated position. A shimmering pattern appears, tracing a stairway up to all 7 levels. Now climb to your level. We deem you worthy to enter the core of fury. You will not be harmed by the holy flame. The monks fade away. So, anyway, let's get on with this review. So yeah, there's also a solution to a maze that you get to sort of towards the end of this book. You've got to get through this to access the fangs by a particular route. And this can be found in an earlier illustration that shows the location of these 6 objects that are scattered around this maze. And you need them to operate the door mechanism. So without the map, the maze is really tough. That's this image here, 389. So that's what this picture looks like. So I'll just read you that very quickly. The Wazari knight smile and is obviously pleased with you. He motions to the squire, who brings over a map, places it on the table in front of you. Weighing it down with a bottle, he nods to the squire, who speaks. These are the Homrath caves. You have fulfilled the prophecy of Take Oaken and have earned the right to view the sacred parchment. Study it well, for the lies of the true path to the Fangs of Fury. He then stands up and after another nod from the Wazari, recites, and he gives you this little poem and these little pictures, these little icons, sort of give you an idea of where certain items are in this maze. So very useful later on. Right, let's have a look at that adventure sheet. So this one is cluttered in true Luke Sharp fashion. So you got your skill, stamina, and luck as always. You've got your provisions as well, and then on On the side there, you can see all the 14 walls of Zamarra, sort of the layers of each layer of each wall, you know, that acts as a defence. So you scrape out each one or tick it off, whatever. You've also got a place there for your notes, any gold, any cubes, black or white, and any gemstones you find throughout this mission as well. And then at the bottom you've got your clues, objects found. There's not too many items to be found in this book. A lot of the mechanics take place of a lot of those kind of items. You know, you find a key, it's got 20 written on it. That's not really quite so evident in this book. But yeah, let's look at the artwork for Fangs of Fury. So the colour map that I showed you at the start, this one here is by Steve Luxton. Really nice depiction of Zamarra and the surrounding area. The internal artwork in this book, like I mentioned, is David Gallagher, his first outing as a sort of interior artist. And the art is quite central to the book concept and solutions, like I mentioned, with all those hidden cubes in the artwork. But his artwork here is perfectly functional. It's really good, actually. And occasionally it kind of lacks a little bit of depth, but not so much as his, I don't know, I found that the cover was a little bit dingy. I've seen a lot better, which is a bit of a shame, because obviously it doesn't really inspire you to pick this up. Well, not me so much anyway, which is a shame, like I say, because the contents inside are tip-top. And as always, I've got a favourite picture. This one here is the swamp hands coming out. Let me read you this one. So this one, I love it. I mean, you can almost imagine what it would look like in colour, but you've got the hands coming out between each stepping stone, which of course you've got to go across. And you've got your little string of white cubes there as well, and some bodies lying in there. And yeah, the only way is forwards, isn't it? You walk among the reeds, the ground gets softer, and soon you're having to step on clumps of reed and grass to stop yourself falling into the marsh-like ground. And eventually you find a set of irregular stepping stones and begin to follow them. After a short time, several scaly clawed hands begin to appear out of the swamp. They stretch and claw at you, and then two fiend-like heads appear, blinking as they do, having woken from a deep sleep. They clutch at you, and without any real strength, something screams in the far distance, just as the path stone divides into two. Both paths lead to the general direction of the citadel. Which do you take? So yeah, that's my favourite picture. Right, my likes and dislikes for Fangs. I'm not so sure about your allies in this. They're this religious group called the Wazari, and you need to find them and get their help to complete the mission, essentially. So for some reason, they're never, I don't think it's made clear, but they're never, the symbol, obviously is a cube, and they can never mention the religion's name that they follow, or else they will die sort of within 7 days. So that's massively impractical. You can't tell anyone the religion, the name of this religion, because you'll die 7 days later. I mean, I don't know. That always struck me as a little bit odd. Fun facts. The book features an appearance from Ostragoth. Remember him? He's that recurring character in a lot of Luke Sharp's books. It shares kind of similarities with his previous books, Daggers of Darkness, in that there's an emphasis on all these random dice rolls that Sharp loves so much. There's also a sort of similar time limit system again, which results in your death if the adventure is not completed in time. So of course with Daggers of Darkness you had that poison running through your veins, or in this one it's the citadel walls. And the copyright page identifies the author by his real name, Alcibiades, I think is how you pronounce it. And I might have touched on that in his first book, Star Strider? Yeah. So rather than, obviously, he's a pseudonym of Luke Sharp. Now, like I said, there's a couple of errors in this book. Not so many, and not really anything too drastic. And there's one, not so much an error, more of a sort of oddity. So as a side, there's this one really odd moment that seems to be an error. When paragraph 5, I think it is, reference 5, you have to fight your own exact replica with the same stats as yourself, okay? So this can be tough, obviously, if you've got high stats. It could balance itself out because his stats are the same as yours. So if you're strong, It's balanced out by definition, as neither side has any kind of advantage as such. The problem comes if you die, as you're given choices of sections to turn to, whether you win or lose. So rather than just sort of ending your adventure there by dying. So should this section not specify that any damage taken in this fight is like an illusion or doesn't count, as you do not get resurrected afterwards if you die. So I always thought that was I don't know if it's a mistake or whether it was just sort of meant to be ambiguous. Anyway, let's do a summary and a score for this book, Fangs of Fury. So the premise of this book has distinct echoes of Luke Sharp, previous two Khul-based fighting fantasy books in this Puffin range. Chasms of Malice being one, and obviously Daggers of Darkness is the other. So with its combination of seemingly lost cause and kind of race against time. Much effort's gone into making sure your mission is super clear. After that kind of lengthy introduction, it should be pretty clear. The adventure involves escaping the siege and then making your way to the volcano itself to reignite those flames to protect that city. And you must also avoid being captured as you become increasingly wanted. So the more prolific you become, the more your wanted level goes up. And it's not like a mechanic as such. And then, of course, you just got to kill Jaxartes as well. Ostragoth never really comes into the equation as such, which I thought was a little bit odd. But your real purpose is lighting that flame, to protect your city. And key to your success is the acquisition of as many black and white cubes as possible. And the black cubes, like we talked about, make you impervious to that fire, very important. And the white cubes are that kind of mystical indication of how enlightened you have become. So obviously then black cubes will stop you from dying. White cubes serve as a way of determining how tricky or easy your path through to the Fangs of Fury is going to be. The variety of interesting material, the open world, and any path you can take potentially still results in victory kind of really makes this book hugely replayable. It's always great to have a book that has high lastability. You keep coming back to it. And I always find, as much as I'm not keen on Luke Sharp's books in general, they are very open world and they do last because you keep coming back to it, trying to find new paths. It's hugely enjoyable. Yeah, its non-linearity makes it a book that you can just come back to over and over again and find all those different paths that have to offer. It's even possible to lose your essential torch, the one you need to light the flames. Again, as you find a side quest to explore Dragonmen's cave in a bid to amass kind of a huge amount of treasure in order to buy back your torch. If you do lose it, it's like 500 gold coins or something ridiculous. Yeah, so once fully mapped out, this book is huge. One paragraph is wasted, really. I mean, it really does make use of those 400 entries. There's even like an aside path where several choices are given, and certainly options lead to extra perils before returning you back to your normal path that you would otherwise have taken. The final sections of this book are quite unusual, quite strangely handled. So the Fangs have 7 different possible entry levels, and where you enter kind of depends on how enlightened you are, how many white cubes you manage to find. And the lower the level of entry, the more dangerous, the more threatening that path to victory is going to be. So level 1, for example, is particularly dangerous, particularly tough to beat. But the 7 different entry points that are provided offer 7 alternative routes to the adventure. So it has, it's already given you quite a varied adventure, and then you get 7 different paths at the end on top of that. So that's excellent. So yeah, there's no end encounter as such. What you have to do is relight the flame, and you win. So Fangs of Fury is Sharp's, for me, best entry, I would say. Very enjoyable, and whilst it's quite easy, it has that huge amount of replayability and diversity, makes it worth the effort. It keeps you coming back to play it over and over. Your characterization is well thought out, and this is one of those few books in the series where you don't need massive stats to win. That whole regardless of the stats you roll at the beginning, you should get through this adventure quite easy. Well, it kind of rings true with this one, I found. So that's quite a refreshing change. So the huge game map adds to the value, even if the bizarre plot kind of premise might have you scratching your head a little bit to try and rationalise it at times. But all in all, it is a solid game book and a good effort from Luke for his final book in this Puffin range. And so for that reason, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for Fangs of Fury. Right, that's my review for this book. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and put a comment in there. Tell me your thoughts on this one, whether you like Luke Sharp in general, David Gallagher's artwork, what are your thoughts on that, whether you like the game mechanics, whether you thought it was too tough, too easy, and share their site out if you think someone else might enjoy it. But either way, next book we'll do is 40, which is Dead of Night. So that's an absolute classic and a good one to round off this series of 10 books. So yeah, join me for book 40. Take care, and I'll catch you in that review.